Salut, bonjour, and welcome to francofille, a creative podcast. My name is Devin, and this is where I document my knitting and other fiber-related crafting. If this is your first time tuning into the podcast, thanks so much for coming by and checking me out. And if you're a returning viewer, thank you so much for coming back. I really appreciate it. You can find me on Instagram and Ravelry at @bdevin. You can find my Etsy shop linked Instagram for pictures of yarn and things like that. If you search @francofille. You can find the podcast group, which I have been neglecting. Honesty. If you search francofille in the groups tab, it's worth trying out, especially if you are looking for any kind of sock project or fingering weight project inspiration. There are a couple knit along threads in there that just have a lot of really phenomenal picks and great inspiration, great pattern choices. So definitely go check that out. You can find all my patterns on Ravelry as well. I think if you search either francofille or @bdevin, they should come up. I think that's everything. Basically every important way to contact me or find me is linked down below. So, yeah, not hard to find me online. Let's see here. So you can see, so there's a good deal to talk about today, including actually a surprising amount of yarn for the shop update, given the way I've been feeling this last week. I probably should explain that right away. About 2 months ago now, back at the beginning of April, when we were working really hard on fixing up our garden and all of our flower beds and things like that, I did something to tweak my elbow, my right elbow, and it's been bugging me really since then, but I don't know, beginning of last week, it really started bugging me. Like, putting dishes away in the cabinet, it would hurt, right? Like I was having issues when I was cooking, right? Just doing really basic things, or even going to sleep, right? Like my elbow just constantly hurt, which is new for me. One of the joys of getting older, I suppose. Also, those of you who have made comments about how I am like, you think I'm in my 20s or something, like that's really sweet. No, I am definitely in my early to mid 30s. I am 33, so I appreciate you thinking that I am younger than that, but no, I just have a round face, so it makes me look younger, maybe? I don't know. Anyway, my elbow's been bugging me, so I've been taking it easy. I haven't gone to yoga this week, which has been making me feel a little bit stir crazy. And basically didn't do any dyeing this week until Tuesday. Usually I spend my weekends dyeing. Today's Thursday. All of my dyeing got done yesterday and the day before. So, yeah. Lots of ice, lots of ibuprofen. I'm trying not to permanently screw up my elbow. Once it started hurting all of the time, I figured that might be a reality, so I've been doing my best to take it easy. I have gotten a fair deal of knitting done though, because for some reason that does not seem to bother my elbow. So, who knows? So surprising amount of knitting to talk through. Given the limited dye days, I do have a lot of yarn in front of me, which is exciting. So, yeah, surprising amount to talk about this week, despite being, on IR. But let's see here. Running through the list of stuff to talk about, I've got some sock knitting, some sweater knitting, some new project knitting, and then one of my scrap blankets kind of made a bit of a reappearance this last week as well, so good deal to go through today. Let's just dive right in. So, if you watched last week's episode, you'll know I added information in like little titles down in the corner of the screen. I wasn't sure how many pairs of socks I had knit so far this year as I was recording, and I went back and checked it out, and it turns out I have 15 pairs finished. I've got at least 2 more that are on the needles. I think I've got 3 more actually that are on the needles currently. 4 more. Okay, I'm remembering all of my unfinished sock projects. Oh goodness, I've got a few to finish. But I've got a hoe, I've got a half-finished pair of socks, and one that is getting close to being a hoe, an almost hoe, or a hoe, maybe. I don't know. I was trying to figure out how to get that written in a concise manner on the rundown. But yeah, 2 sock projects to talk to you guys about. So, I am halfway done with my Hirondelle socks, my part 2, right, my second ones. This is my pattern. This was the May Sock Club pattern, but the yarn I'm using, this is my second time knitting it. This is from Hand Knits and Things. This is the Into the Great Unknown colorway, and I think the base is John Henry. I could be wrong on that. It's her 75-25 merino nylon blend, or sock blend, right? Yeah, I'm absolutely obsessed with the way this knit up. I've talked about this one before. It's been a couple weeks since I think I last talked about this project. I had left it on hold for a little bit. You can tell this little adorable sock stitch marker, or progress keeper, is where I last had it. Since then, I knit the foot, I did the toe, I popped it, I popped in the heel. Yeah, a lot of progress done on this week. I can't believe this was all just this week, but apparently I was really in the mood to knit a sock. I mean, really, the body of it, this foot all got done in one day, even the toe, that was all one day's knitting. And then I popped in the heel. Right, it was pretty easy going. I'm knitting this, what was I gonna say? Oh, for the Get Lit Knit sock knit along that's going on right now that they're running through Instagram. So it runs to the end of the month, June 30th. So I've got about 2 weeks left to get this thing finished. I think I can bang out the other sock. But I'm definitely enjoying taking this knit at a slightly more leisurely pace. I think I've mentioned this before, but when I'm doing my monthly sock club patterns and things like that, I'm working at a good clip on those, trying to get them finished and written and you know, edited, all that kind of stuff before the beginning of the month, so that I can, you know, have them out to you guys in a reasonable amount of time. Sorry, that reminds me, I think I've got one more pattern to send out. Anyway. But yeah, so getting to re-knit this kind of on my own pace without any sort of sense of urgency has been really, really nice, and has made me kind of fall in love with the pattern all over again. I really enjoyed it as I was knitting it up the first time, but actually getting to knit it at my own pace without that extra pressure on it, yeah, it's been really just fun. And it's surprisingly intuitive. You wouldn't think necessarily, because it definitely looks pretty complicated. But I mean, honestly, it's a 4-row repeat. It's really amazingly intuitive. Yeah, I'm very pleased with it. So, what else to say? I'm doing a 72 stitch count instead of 64 for the same reason I did on my Summer in Provence socks, I think I talked about last week. So it's a slightly finer fingering weight. It's 463 yards for 100 grams instead of the standard about 400. So I found if I do my normal 64 stitch count with that kind of yarn, it pulls a lot, right? Especially over the instep, right? These stitches will pull real bad, and it'll lose its shape and just not wear quite right. So I've stepped up my stitch count with this kind of yarn, and I'm a lot happier with the results. So yeah, I love how this colorway knit up. I was really expecting it to clash with the pattern, but just kind of tried it just to kind of see how it would go. And yeah, it works. It works really surprisingly well. And yeah, I think I talked about my thoughts on why it works probably 4 or 5 episodes ago, so if you're curious about that, rather than repeating myself over and over again, yeah, I definitely recommend going back a few episodes. It'll probably be from like the 2nd episode in April, maybe. Yeah. Love, 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 love how these are working out. No, May, sorry. Really random. It'll be the 2nd episode in May, because that's when I cast them on. Yeah. All right, the other sock project that it's almost a half-finished object. This is a last-minute addition to the podcast rundown because I just picked this back up today. Was sitting in my dining room, and I don't know, I didn't feel like going and wandering over to pick up any of my other projects that are on the needles, but I picked my Pixel Rise socks back up, and I'm on to the cuff. So I made the executive decision to not do a second repeat, I guess, of this dark gray-brown colorway, partly because it's getting plenty long. And I wasn't quite sure it would fit if it went too much further up my leg. Again, real talk. But yeah, I kind of like the idea that there's a clear halfway point with that color, and it just kind of, yeah, just is the middle point, right? A clear dividing line instead of 2 repeats. It would feel less balanced to me if I were to repeat that, because the heel's gonna go right in the middle of that. Right, I've got my little pineapple there, marking where I'm gonna be cutting in my heel. So yeah, I really, really, really love this project. It's been hibernating for a little bit, mostly because I wasn't quite sure what I was going to do about the leg, whether I was going to do that color or not. And for some reason I had it in my head that it took a while to knit, but honestly I did from this blue color to where I am at now, right? All just in like an hour and a half, right? Just really surprisingly fast. Yeah, I'm really pleased with these. So I'm gonna finish up the ribbing. I'm doing a 1x1 twisted rib here in the contrasting color for the cuff, heel, and toe, and then I'll pop in an afterthought heel, which will be also in white. Sorry, I'm now thinking like, will I have enough? Could I do it in the charcoal gray color? Nah, I'll do it in white. It'll look cool. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't done stranded color work like this in a little bit. It's, you know, whenever the last time I worked on this project was, and it's really fun. Kind of always forget about it and forget about how much I enjoy doing it until I'm actually working on it. And then once I'm going, I'm like, oh yeah, this is great. Why do I not do more stranded color work? This is fantastic. But it just seems like it's going to be a lot of work, and oh, am I going to be consistent enough with my tension, or, you know, whatever. And the answer is yes, it's fine. And whatever inconsistencies happen, most of the time they come out in blocking. So, I mean, unless you're really, really, really inconsistent with your blocking or with your tension, yeah, it works out just fine. So, yeah, I'm glad I picked this back up. Sorry, I don't know why I felt the need to start knitting on them again, but I'm just sitting here knitting on the ribbing. It's fine. The yarn I'm using, the white is Knit Pick Stroll in white. Yeah, really just nothing crazy special. I do really enjoy Knit Pick Stroll for contrasting cuff, heel, and toes. For being a solid workhorse sort of sock yarn. It is really soft. And I have knit a ton of socks out of Stroll over the years. Yeah, I've got pairs of socks knit in Stroll that are probably a good 7-8 years old that I still get regular wear out of. Right, they still hold up just fine. So it's really it's good stuff. Like, it works well. It's nothing flashy, and it's totally affordable, which is probably the best part about it, if we're being completely honest. Yeah, it's great, solid sock yarn. And it's, I don't know. It comes in such a wide variety of colors that it's really perfect for contrasting cuff heel and toes. Yeah, okay, Devin, you need to put this down. Okay, I'm putting it down. I'm putting it down. It's okay that I'm not through my row. I'm putting it down. So, knit, pick, stroll, and then, oh, yeah, the more important one. These are mini skeins from Yarn Company that I was gifted last summer. And they are just beautiful. The way she dyed up the yarn with the complementary color, or the oh, she does do some complementary speckles and things like that. Like, there are some red speckles on the green and things like that, but just the sort of tone on tone, color on color, monochromatic, that's the word I'm looking for, speckling, right? Where the blue has blue speckles on it, right? Purple has purple and all that. Really just adds this epic depth to each of these colors. Like, they're just, it's great. Yeah, love these socks, love the yarn. Really excited to have these done. They're gonna be so warm. They are already, like, they're thick. Right, these are gonna be just a delight in the winter, I have no doubt. So, yep, love that project. Slowly but surely I'm making progress on that. Yeah, next project is my breathing space sweater. Last time when I showed you last week, I don't think I had divided for the sleeves yet. I think I was on this second stripe, but I have definitely progressed past that. Right, I've divided for the sleeves, and I am dropping stitches is what I'm doing. Yeah, I am onto the interesting short row stripes that kind of make this sweater distinctive. Right, you end up with these stripes running along the body, kind of at a bias, which is cool. See if I can find a decent way to show you. Right now it just kind of feels awkward, but yeah, you can kind of get the feel for it. I can uncurve it. I am about halfway across the bust with the stripes. So eventually I'll work all the way around, and then it'll just kind of grow down once I can work in the round again. But I'm in the middle of the short rows, and I am really just loving the way these colors are playing together, right? It's a very subtle stripe, right? It's got just enough contrast. It's not really in your face or anything like that. I love both of these colorways. And I was a little bit disappointed, actually, if I'm being completely honest. Initially, I was a little disappointed in the striping. I was afraid, like, in the first couple rows, I wasn't getting enough contrast. I was a little nervous, and I wasn't thrilled with how infrequent the speckles of orange were for the Modern Fair Isle. And I wasn't sure if I liked the orange and all that, but I'm glad I stuck with it, because I think once you kind of zoom out a little bit further, right, and you get a bigger picture look at it, while the orange speckles aren't really in your face orange, right, right? The whiskers kind of mutes it. I really don't have a good way of like holding this up to show you. It does add a certain like warmth and depth to the project. I think without the speckles, I think it would be a much less interesting project. So I'm really glad that it's working out the way it is. So yeah, it's actually a really fun knit. So yeah, I am almost done with my first skein of whiskers, and I still have a ton left of Modern Fair Isle. So I'm glad I got that fourth skein of whiskers just in case. But I may not need it, we'll see. But just kind of having it as a security blanket is really comforting. It makes me a lot less nervous about yarn management and the project in general and all that kind of stuff. I don't think I'd be having as much fun with the project if I was sitting there worrying about eventual yarn chicken. So if that makes any sense to anybody else. Yeah, and I love this colorway. It's funny, I think I'm realizing more and more that the colorways that I like to knit with and the colorways I like to dye are very different. My least favorite colorways to dye are my sort of neutral monochromatic colorways. I love the flashier, brighter, speckled, all that kind of craziness colorway. But when it comes to actual like yarn that I want to knit with and I want to wear, it's definitely, navy and oatmeal. I feel like I'm always talking about how boring my wardrobe color palette is, but it is what it is. Yeah, I don't know. I love this colorway, but I love whiskers, but I don't think I would want to dye it. I think I would get very bored of dyeing it very quickly. Just kind of a shame because it's what I actually want to knit and wear. Dyeing and knitting are clearly two very different processes for me. But yeah, so that is how that is going. Again, I'm not knitting that on any kind of deadline. It's not like I'm going to be getting any sort of wear out of it anytime soon. It's the middle of June, and we have been having a streak of 90 to 100 degree days, so definitely not sweater wearing weather. Yesterday and today it's finally cooled off. We're only in the mid 80s. I am in a t-shirt, right? Even though the way the camera is framed, it may not look like it, but yeah, we're definitely well into summer already. Yes. Speaking of summer, I've got my summer-long kind of personal project going. I've decided I'm going to be making some placemats for my dining room this summer. Just kind of changing up my knitting a little bit, and just wanting to have some handmade home decor items, as I somehow don't have any. Still continues to confuse me. So last week I was talking about the colors that I'd picked out and kind of a general idea of what I wanted to do. My yarn hadn't quite arrived. I think it arrived about an hour or two after I recorded, and I'm actually going to go jump up real quick and grab the yarn itself. I'll be right back. All right, so I think I mentioned last week I selected the Kotlin yarn by Knit Picks. Right, Kotlin, which is a 70-30 blend of cotton and linen. It's a DK weight yarn, and it comes in these little 50-gram balls. And so I picked out 4 colorways that are getting washed out. There we go. So kind of going around, I've got, what is this, Planetarium, yep, which is this dark navy blue color. Linen, which is the neutral sort of beige color. Swan is the white, and then this lighter gray blue is Raindrop, right? So that is the palette I'm working with. Very much goes with the rest of my house. Again, navy and oatmeal, right? This is kind of my happy place color-wise. My living room is painted a gray blue. My dining room is a lighter gray blue, which is kind of where we're at. And then we've got kind of medium warm wood throughout the house as well. So yeah. So I decided this week to knit up 2 different swatches, kind of playing around with different techniques, how I was going to incorporate all 4 colorways into my project, and kind of give myself some options to play with. And so I decided to knit up 2 swatches and basically use them as coasters, right? So I'm not, you know, knitting them up and then ripping them out like I usually do with my swatches and use the yarn for the actual real project. I decided just, you know, keep them as is. And yeah, one, I still need to weave in the rest of the ends. I've woven in about half of them. So this is swatch number 1. I did some mosaic knitting. This is my first attempt at mosaic knitting. You can see I did kind of the planetarium color kind of running throughout and then striped in the other 3 colors kind of behind it. Kind of very geometric sort of feel to it. And then swatch number 2 is this almost linen stitch. It's kind of a modified linen stitch. And then just kind of changed out the color every 2 rows, right? I'll zoom up on that. And Jordan and I think both agreed that this is our winner, right? We both really like this. And I actually really like the fabric it creates on the wrong side as well. I think that looks pretty cool. The problem is I was not exactly careful with the way I was weaving in ends, right? Because like I said, this is going to become a coaster, right? And this is clearly the right side of the fabric, so I wasn't too terribly concerned with what the wrong side would look like, but kind of after I wove them in, I realized just how much I liked this side of the wrong side. So I'm going to have to find a better way to carefully weave in the ends. You know, I had tried down here to be a little bit more careful and it worked a little bit, but you can see them on the front, so that doesn't really work. I think what I'm gonna do is instead of just doing a selvage edged with slip stitches like I did on this, right, where you just slip the first edge of the row, to just kind of make it look a little bit neater along the edges. I think I'm actually going to do a couple stitches in garter stitch along each side, just to kind of make it a little bit easier to hide those edges, or those ends. What else? Yeah, I think that's really just the first time I attempted this, I did try holding the yarn and just kind of carrying it up along the side, and it was just really doing strange things to the edge itself. Although, if I do the garter stitch, maybe it won't be so weird. I don't know. I'll play around and figure it out, but I'm thinking a couple, you know, 4 or 5 stitches of garter stitch before getting into the pattern on either side will definitely kind of help clean that up, make it look a little bit more uniform. But yeah, so this is what I'm going for. This is going to be what my placemats look like in my dining room. So that is that project, kind of moving along. I do have to say I was surprised by how pleasant the yarn was to work with. It's been a while since I really worked with cotton, or linen for that matter. I think I made a washcloth last summer, and I crocheted it. But other than that, it's been a long time. So yeah, it wasn't as stiff or uncomfortable to work with as I remembered. It's the first time using cotton, this particular yarn, so maybe it's just really excellent cotton or linen. Maybe it's something with the blend. I don't know, but I definitely recommend this yarn. It's really soft and it works up nicely. So yeah, that continues. I am making progress, amazingly enough. Yeah, the last project that I've really put any sort of time or effort into this week Um, don't know what happened to the crochet hook. I'm sure I'm gonna pick this up and it's just gonna clatter. Oh, it's on my counter here somewhere. But it is my granny stripe blanket. This thing is quite long, so I'm just gonna hold up the middle section and that's fine. So yeah, let's see here. Last time I showed it to you guys, I think I was here, right? I had added in my 2 rows of Lolo Did It yarn. Caterpillar Blues is this lighter one with speckles, and then this is 85, the navy with pops of orange. All of this basically has been since the last time I showed you. And from here up, right, has been, that was all last night, right? So I've got about 6 rows maybe? 1, 2, 3, 4, sorry, 4 colorways. So 8 rows. No, that's not right. 5. All right, there's 2 there. That I did. This has been my studio project basically, as I'm waiting for yarn to cool or soak or whatever, as whenever I've got downtime in the studio and I can just hang out down in the studio and I don't have other tasks that I need to be doing, like, you know, cutting labels or doing any sort of shipping things or anything like that. I'll pick this up and add, you know, a little bit to it. And then, I don't know, I just was really in the mood to work on it last night. I kind of didn't want to cast on my second sock for my Hirondelle socks. For some reason wasn't in the mood to knit on the sweater, and I didn't feel quite like casting on, you know, my first actual placemat with this, or weaving in ends, let's be honest. So yeah, I grabbed this and brought it upstairs, and yeah, it has doubled in size since I last showed you guys. I actually fold it in half. And it really is, right, that halfway mark is the last time you saw it, right? So it grows, and I realized that it still is all hand-dyed yarn. Just kind of, I almost feel ridiculous. It feels kind of like a embarrassment of riches, to be honest. Most of it is my own. A lot of it is. But I think the only one that's commercial actually is there's a row of Malabrigo. The rest of it is all indie dyer yarn, including my own. So, you know, if I have leftovers after my monthly sock clubs, they go in here. Or really just any sort of leftovers at all. So, yeah. Let's see here. This kind of crazy bright stripe, that aqua stripe running through, that's the June Sock Club colorway. Top is leftover from the Summer in Provence socks. The white, oh, it's not white, that's actually the peach. That is the May Sock Club colorway. Underneath that is my first self-striping yarn. Right, so it's blue, or it's purple and green here, but as I kind of travel down, it becomes, you know, blue and speckled and all that. All blue. So that was my first attempt at self-striping yarn. I already added in a stripe of the Into the Great Unknown from Hand Knits and Things. It's already in there. I've got Macaroon, right, one of my colorways. What is underneath that? My April Sock Club. It's the crazy speckles here. Right, Clawfoot Tub is underneath that. Right, Damned Women, March Sock Club, and Lola Did It, all the stuff you guys have seen before. So yeah, I've just kind of been going crazy with it. Really nice, mindless project. Kind of watched it, or was working on it while we watched a movie last night, right? It's kind of perfect for that. And yeah, I'm really kind of enjoying it as a memory blanket, right? Just kind of thinking about the projects that I did and all that kind of stuff. And I was a little bit nervous that it was starting to look a little crazy. It is definitely very colorful. But I think it all works surprisingly well together. It'll be interesting to see what it looks like when it's all done, but I'm actually really enjoying it. Yeah, so that is that. And that is really the only thing I've worked on. I mean, those are all the things that I've worked on this week, which is actually quite a good deal of stuff. So a little bit of crocheting, lots of knitting, no spinning this week. Just again, taking it easy. And just a little bit of dyeing, which is funny to me because I've got this mountain of yarn sitting in front of me. I don't know how that happened, but so yeah, let's talk some shop update stuff. So again, I'm using these new bases that are cruelty free. I talked about them all last week, and I'm really in love with them. They take dye beautifully, and I've just been having so much fun dyeing the same colorway on a couple different bases to see how each base takes the dye differently. It's just been kind of a really fun learning experience for me in that way. So yeah, I think I'll just kind of dive right in. So I'm just gonna start at the top of the pile and kind of work my way through. To start with, I came up with a new colorway yesterday because I've just been having fun. And I'm calling it Herbe de Provence, right? Herbe de Provence. Right, just kind of my favorite herbs to cook with. They end up in everything that I cook. I've got it on, here, you can see it. These two twisted up well. I've got it on Polwarth, and this is my Pyrenees, right? Pyrenees base. 100% Polwarth, and my Chaussette 2, Chaussette 2 base, right, which is the 85-15 superwash merino nylon blend. Right, both of these are superwash yarns, and I think that's part of why the speckles are so crisp. Right, they're crisper on the merino than they are on the Polwarth, but they're still, I don't know, very cool. So I dyed these up in the same vat, right? I threw both kinds of yarn into the giant pot all together and put the dye in first, threw the yarn in. And it's interesting to me that the Polwarth, it's kind of washing out. I'll pull it back a little bit. The Polwarth is a little bit darker, right? It soaked up a little bit more of the dye than the merino nylon, which is kind of cool. But yeah, so just a really nice pale green base, kind of tonal base, then with all sorts of fun flavors of green speckles. There's dark green, there's kind of a teal green, there's a really, really bright sort of green, and then some sort of lavender purple speckles, as well as my favorite versions of Herbe de Provence, that herb mix, has lavender in it as well, which just kind of adds a fun little note to whatever you're cooking. But yeah, love this. Really love how that turned out. What else? Where to begin? I dyed up some more ciel doré, right, or golden skies. This week I've got it on alpaca, right, which is my Alps base, and MCN, which is my Loire base, right? And you can see it's a little bit different from last week, like to the point where I was almost tempted to rename it. I used a slightly different technique. I dyed it up in the oven in a pan instead of in a giant pot, and there's a little less movement. So the blue is a little bluer, the oranges stayed a little oranger. But I think it's also partly the base that they're on, right? Because you can see, again, I mean, they're dyed identically in terms of amount of dye and all that kind of stuff, but the alpaca, you get a little bit more movement going on, right? A little bit more blending of the colors, and the merino nylon, the cashmere, right? The merino cashmere nylon is definitely kind of crisper, which is kind of cool. Right. Twist it up slightly different here, again on the Loire base. right? And both of these are just gorgeously soft. Fun fact about alpaca, I did not realize it is hypoallergenic. So if you've got people in your life who don't like wool because they find it scratchy or uncomfortable, it makes them itchy, try alpaca, right? It doesn't have any lanolin in it, right? Because alpaca don't produce that. That's a sheep thing. So yeah, fun fact. Yeah, so ciel doré on both Alps alpaca and Loire MCN. I just want to cuddle it. It's so, so soft. I did dye up, like I've got, I threw in an extra skein. There was a an order of slate roof. So I just kind of threw in a skein of the polwarth on slate roof as well. I have to say it's pretty great with alright, Herbe de Provence, and really a lot of these. Alright, slate roof and apéritif. Here I've got it on alpaca. Right, I love that combo. Although of course it's getting washed out when I want to show you. There we go, a little bit better. I do have one skein of artichoke on polwarth. That's kind of a great combo. No, I'm gonna hold it back here and it won't be so washed out. Lighting is just not my friend. I try. Alright, dyed up some. Just stay right down. See if that helps. There we go. This is Saint-Onc, right, on polwarth. Again, those speckles, right? They're just so crazy crisp. Kind of awesome. I love it. Yeah, love that. Right. How beautiful. I love it. Again, slate roof and this. Kind of a match made in heaven. If you have the same sort of color palette preferences that I do. These are both alpaca. I also dyed up some Garanc. I've got it on the sock base, right? That 85-25 or 85-15 blend of superwash merino and nylon and alpaca. And again, right, the alpaca just kind of speckles differently, right? Because it's not a superwash. I think. That's my guess, is that it's because it's not a superwash. That's why the speckles sort of just kind of blend out like that. But it's just gorgeous. It almost creates, I said this last week, but it almost creates kind of like a watercolor kind of effect, right? Whereas on the sock base, right, you get much crisper sort of speckles. They stay in their lane a little bit better. Right, they stay a little bit crisper, which is cool. All right, there's another skein, but you can kind of see that there too. There's that. What else? I've got some à la Bastide, right? That wedding anniversary colorway I came up with last week. Again, I've got it available on polwarth again this week, and also on the MCN, right, on that Loire base. Love this. May have to keep this for myself. We shall see. Do have a skein or two left. A couple skeins of apéritif on alpaca. Love that, love that, love that. I have one skein left of artichoke on MCN, which is just gorgeous. Again, artichoke and slate roof. Just so nice. Really want to do a brioche project, but I won't. I have too many projects on the needles. And then, sorry, I'm looking at this. I'm debating whether I want to keep this for myself. Like, real talk. I kind of maybe am going to keep this for myself. This may or may not make its way into the shop. It's just this, I was playing around a really gorgeous tonal brown with some pops of blue on alpaca. All right, just to kind of give it some interest. It's very actually lightly speckled with the blue, just to kind of give it a little bit of interest. We'll see if this makes its way to the shop or not. Goes to the shop or if it goes to my stash. We shall see. I kind of want hats and mittens out of this. I think it'll be gorgeous. Maybe. We'll see. But yeah, so lots and lots of yarn, lots of options. Yeah, so all of these colorways are up in the shop, right? That it will be up in the shop on Friday evening at 8 p.m. Eastern time. They are all ready to ship. My tonals are available as well on whatever base you want them on, but they are dyed to order. Right, if you order on Friday night, I'll dye it up Saturday. It'll be ready to go, ship out Monday. So yeah, I mean, the shipping time is still pretty quick. The turnaround is very quick. That's part of why I did the tonals dyed to order like that. It helps me, I mean, if we're talking actual like why, it's easier for me in terms of managing my bare yarn, not having a ton of pre-dyed overstock tonals, especially since I've got 4 different bases, you know, that you might want them on. But they're also really quick to dye, so I know that I can still ship out very quickly. Whereas, you know, the speckled colorways like this takes many, many hours. You know, this is a multi-step process, whereas this is not. Right? Just being straightforward. Alright, so, yes, tonals, Canon and Bastille, or no, sorry, this is à la Bastille and Slayer. This is my favorite color. Like, honestly, this goes with everything. I love it. It is perfect. It is my perfect color. My happy place. What does it not go with? Maybe it's not awesome with golden sky. Nah, I'd still do it. I would still combine those. I just love it. It's perfect. To me, it is perfect. Love that. I'm gonna get back to work. I got some more. I'm gonna start prepping actually, I think, for next week. Today. Get some pictures taken, edit the podcast, have everything ready to go for Friday. And yeah, I don't know. I'm starting to babble, so it must be time to end the podcast. Anyway, yeah. I will see you guys again next week. Bon tricot, happy knitting.